Speaking of losing, Denathrius.
He lost, didn't he?
Denathrius lost.
Or did he?
Denathrius lost, but he had a few friends on the inside.
Yeah, here we are.
And that's what's fun.
Yeah, so this is extremely early stuff. It's literally a scene script database file. So they've, we've got the vague gist and no more. But here we have, and I think this is clearly written for us, I think. There's no way it's not, because they know what's going in. Thank you for playing, Valiant Champion. As Mal'Ganis is defeated, he reveals his plan. This was all a distraction. While you've been fighting him, the other Nathrezim went after the true target. The only master they have ever truly served, Sire Denathrius. Oh, and Mal'Ganis gets away, maybe? Well, of course he does.
So, there's a big line that I want to bring up here. It's something to the effect of, the cunning ones, serve... Was it the cunning ones kneel before all, but they only serve one?
Before the six.
Yes, they kneel before the six, but they only serve one. And this is actually in a lore video we did a few days ago, maybe last week. The idea that the one that they serve does not need to be one of the six in the start of that whisper. So, they're sitting there serving the Burning Legion and serving the Army of Light. But in reality...
And the Void.
And the Void. But in reality, they are serving Denathrius. And Denathrius is serving the jailer. When, we just hear right here that their only master, the only one they ever served, is Denathrius. And that basically means if Denathrius is like, here lads, that jailer boy, he's a right dickhead, we don't like him anymore, then all of the Dreadlords, they're Denathrius's, people. They're not the jailers. So that's really big. This is really big for the lore, this is.
I had a pretty big moment when I read this earlier on today, or the day before, whatever it was. I was like, oh, I have spent so much of my time awake and mentally active thinking, all right, what are the Dreadlords up to? How are they involved in everything? Sorry, the Dreadlords and the Dread Queens, because we've now seen a model of one of those. But how are they involved in it all? Because they served the Void, but they served the Void to get Sargeras' turn, so they were doing that. But in doing so, they had access to some of the Void, which I guess is probably a bit of a give and take relationship.
Yeah.
So they probably have some of that future scrying power available to them. They also one of them serving the Light. There's loads of stuff that we don't really go into in our upcoming Yogg-Saron video, but it's fundamentally the Dreadlords built ICC out of Cyanide. That doesn't seem to be a great idea.
Yeah.
As we get into in the Yogg video, but that's not a great idea, but they did it. Varamathras was the one who instigated the Wrathgate, which put Bolvar on the throne. He's pretty important. So I have not been able to figure out how the Dreadlords are actually all connected in one actual end goal. Because obviously most of it seems to serve the jailer perfectly fine, including the installation of the Lich King, etc., etc. But it all just seemed a bit funny to me. Like, it didn't completely add up. And some of that I was hand wave away because, it's Blizzard trying to do what they can from, really old bits of breadcrumbs they're trying to pull together and try to make something out of it. And I hand wave that away. But all of that feels like, I feel like I have been duped entirely by the Dreadlords myself because I've been trying to figure them out. But, as we were sort of suggesting sometimes earlier, maybe Denathrius is actually the one.
Yeah.
So I know I've seen that opinion bandied about quite a bit. So it's like, there's so much more to think about. There's so much more to think about, and I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, it's so brain hurting what's going on here. I mean, in a good way, right? Mal'Ganis is back. That's fun. So, some of the setup here is there's a Dreadlord quest line in Korthia, where you're doing stuff for a character. Turns out a Dreadlord shows up. It's kind of cool because it's a Dreadlord. They're cool. So there's the Dreadlords doing their stuff in Korthia, I guess, to get some ancient secrets. We've got Mal'Ganis appearing, and I guess trying to fight us, but so that what the rest of the Dreadlords can do is save Denathrius from his current prison. So basically, Denathrius gets jailbroken, and all of the Dreadlords now are basically free, can roam about the place, and man, what does Denathrius want? That's basically the thing. You've got to wonder, Denathrius, he has just been slighted by the jailer. I actually think this is what Blizzard's planning. I think the Denathrius actually thought the jailer was his guy. Because Denathrius, from all that we know, he has worked with and for the jailer for maybe tens of thousands of years. Because time's weird in the Shadowlands and they've been running a long game. I mean, actually, they've definitely been running a long game because, was it 1 million years ago that Sargeras turned dark? So, because Sargeras turned dark, of course, because of a bunch of Void Dreadlords giving him the big willies, and he got very spooked. Oh, wow. Denathrius served the jailer for such a long, cosmic eons of time, only to be thrown in the bin when he was no longer useful. So, Denathrius, look at him. He's an arrogant prick. So he's not going to take kindly to anything that's a slight against him as a person. His ego will be humongous. So, he's going to take all of his Dreadlords and Dreadladies. I guess if that's how we're going to... is it that, or is it male and female Dreadlords and Dreadlord is a species? You know what? It's not even... I don't know where what their titles are.
I don't know where the term Dread Queen came from, but that's what what people are calling them.
There was something data mined, and I think the file name was Dread Queen, which maybe means that there is a Queen of the Dreadlords. So that could be the actual leader of the Dreadlords of the Nathrezim, and maybe, she is Denathrius' direct report. And perhaps she is the one that is orchestrating a bunch of this stuff. But I think the point is probably that Denathrius will want a whole bunch of power now. He will know that the jailer is not to be trusted. He will feel betrayed. He'll be angry. And it does make me wonder, what's going to happen? It's that thing where with Denathrius, we just do not know what he wants. Because there's something obvious here where Denathrius, I think, was originally intended to just be a character who betrays us and we kill him, and that was that. But they said they really, really liked the voice actors, his shtick, his performance, which, it was great. So that does then make you think, is working Denathrius into these plans something that's a bit new? But I think they clearly always had it, that the Dreadlords were doing big cosmic stuff. So... yeah, it's one of those things where I wish we could give you a better answer, and I think we'll have to do a full video on this and on the Dreadlords. It's just going to take a little bit of time to actually work out what Denathrius would now want. We just don't know, unless you have any ideas.
Nothing particularly comes to me. I've been trying to think about this over the course of the day, and I can't quite nail anything because the only context we've been given so far for Denathrius is him as an Eternal One, as one of this group of a couple that are, not even vying for supremacy over each other, all just chilling, I'm here ruling Revendreth, it's pretty happy, I've got, stuff going on. So none of that seems apparent to us yet. And I think Blizzard are taking their time with it in a way that, because I guess it's at what point did they decide that Denathrius was going to be a character brought forward? And it definitely wasn't after we saw Denathrius and everyone went, that's cool, because they wouldn't have had time to react. I imagine it's probably a week or so after they brought the VA in to do the lines. They're like, shit, we're actually on to something here. Can we take this further? So I think it's maybe it's something they will plan to get us on board with for the rest of Shadowlands. Denathrius is clearly a villain, but if he's going to be up against the jailer because he was slighted, then is that going to make it this weird power struggle where we're stuck between the middle? Stuck in the middle of Denathrius and his cunning forces. So he's never going to wage war, but he's going to be fiddling little things here and there and playing with stuff where possible, versus us trying to fight the jailer at the same time, or whatever happens after the raid. So I think it's very much... I expect this is what we'll be doing for the rest of the expansion, or hearing about for the rest of it.
Yeah. So I guess a situation where something major has changed about the state of the Warcraft universe. Yeah. Our direct allies in the form of the Arbiter and the Arbiter's, servants, the attendants. Well, those attendants, the purpose will be shattered by this. That's going to change how the Archon thinks. I think the Winter Queen's probably a lot more clued in and intelligent about this shit anyway. So we're going to be there with all our allies who have just had their whole world and purpose shattered. We're then going to have the brokers who are probably going to be like, ooh, how can we use this? And then we will have these two enemy factions in Zoval and his stuff, and the Dreadlords.